I'm not going to do what I was going to do for the intro, but I am going to tell you what I was going to do. So welcome everyone to Take Your Time, a Persona 5 Royal in real-time podcast where we talk about Persona 5 Royal while we play it in real time according to the real-world calendar, because that's the in-game calendar as well. I'm your host, Jonathan Dornbush, and I'm joined by Tom Marks. Tom, hello.
Happy Halloween!
I was gonna do a really bad like vampire accent and try to do like yeah, but I started laughing to myself about how bad it would be, and when I do that, I then can't like actively make myself do the bit. I lose the bit when I start laughing about the bit myself.
This is some meta horror. That's what we're bringing to this Halloween episode.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do here on this wonderful Halloween weekend episode that we're recording, though when you're listening to this, it's the days after. But yeah, that's the thing I actually have to talk about in the game, because I don't think I went around during Halloween time, and I didn't know there were a bunch of decorations. But anyway, we'll get there in a little bit. For those who don't know, this is the show where we've been playing through Persona 5 Royal in real time. So if you're just jumping in now, first of all, thank you for your interest in checking out the show. You should listen to the whole thing if you want to see the sort of progression of our madness and also the progression of the game itself. As we go through it, we'll, of course, be going through the end of October on this, our 30th episode.
Hey!
We're hitting the big 3-0, and we're also hitting a new month after this week. So it's very exciting, very scary,
and,
the passage of time.
And the first day of this week is the 200th day of the game.
Yes, yeah. We have been officially covering 200 real-world days of this fictional video game, so congratulations to us, I think is all I could say. No, it's been very exciting to be on this journey, and I'm glad that we still have so much left to dig into, in particular with a very busy week this week. But before we get to all of that, we of course have our normal housekeeping at the top of the show, and I want to start off with a pop quiz answer from last week. Tom, you left us with an unexpected question,
yes.
At least for you, going into the episode.
Yes, so the question last time was that Sai and Makoto have another one of those awkward family interactions, and the thing I just got a kick out of, and I just loved this so much I had to turn it into the question. Jonathan, why did Sai come home?
I want to say it's because she like forgot her deodorant or something, and she's going to be out working late, and you just don't want to smell when you're out and about, you know?
I mean, that's kind of close, actually. It's like, It's in the ballpark.
Okay.
We did get one correct answer from Thomas, who keeps getting these quizzes right.
Nice.
And I swear it's not just me. Where Thomas said Sai wanted to change into one of her other apparently identical suits. That is correct. Sai's reason for coming home is she just came home to change her clothes.
But they're the same.
All of her clothes are always the same, and she never changes her clothes.
Yeah, she's a cartoon character. She only has the one outfit.
Yeah.
That's
Although,
great.
to be fair to Persona, they do have, like, four, like, I think Sai maybe only has the one outfit.
Yes.
But, like, the cast itself has, like, 4 different ones that they switch around on.
No, I do appreciate that the game does switch them out enough, because it would be realistic that, like, you would have your school clothes, you would have your casual clothes, though I guess they do just wear the same casual clothes all the time, but, you know, it's...
Fun fact, spoilers abound. Well, not story spoilers, but that's one of the things that Persona 5 Royal changes, is that as we get deeper into winter, they get actual winter clothing, casual clothing. Yeah.
That's exciting. Ooh,
yeah,
okay.
Cool.
Well, let's just speed through the game, frankly. Oh, it's January, everyone. Welcome. We're going to talk about the cool new outfits.
No.
Nothing happens in between.
You can't say real and time 12 times at the beginning if we do that.
We just skip it. It's fine. We just make it up as we go along. No, that's very funny that is the specific reasoning they gave her. But
it's just so random. Like, there's a million things you could have said that like make... Anyway, I'll stop. We got too much to talk about today.
I forgot my files.
Right? Yeah.
Work, business. I think that's what professionals do. I don't know. I sit here at my desk every day at home. Anyway, we also got, I want to say, a lot of comments on last week's episode and quite a few emails So I kind of want to get through everything. I don't know how much time we'll have to spend on everything, but I do want to just say thank you to everyone who's been writing in, commenting on the show, writing in via email. If you would like to as well, you can go to dornology@gmail.com, or you don't go there, you write to that email address. What am I saying, Jonathan? Anyway, you can write to that email address like several people did in the last week, including Juliana. And Juliana wrote in and said, "Hi, Tom and Jonathan. I'm a huge fan of the podcast and have been tuning in weekly since week 1, so thought it was about time that I sent y'all an email and let you know how much I'm enjoying it. After playing and falling in love with the original P5, I'd always meant to go back and play Royal, so your podcast gave me the perfect excuse. At first, I was playing along with the IRL calendar, but quickly found myself clocking in more and more hours as new content came through. Very fair. I'm now in January and 215 hours in. What I've loved the most about your podcast is learning just how much I missed my first playthrough. My most recent example of this is the Crane game. I had no idea there were other toys available after Jack Frost. When I heard this on the podcast, I raced back to the arcade and was told by Morgana that because it was a lucky day, a day ending in 7, we should have a better chance at the Crane game. I promptly handed over my 300 yen and lost 6 times in a row.
Wow.
Finally got it on my 7th try, so Jonathan, please continue to celebrate your Crane victory knowing that success is not guaranteed. I feel vindicated. How? Finally.
Wait, on the 7th try on a day in 7, I wonder if that's an intentional thing.
Don't take this away from me, Tom. It's randomized and it's difficult and you know it.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Yep, that's what you meant. Anyway, thanks again for the amazing show, and if you do decide to do a P4 podcast, then consider me already signed up. Cheers, Juliana. Very funny to learn that. Honestly, now that you mentioned that, that might actually be the case. But
I mean, I don't know. It could not be. It could just be that they're... anyway.
Next day, it ends in a 7. I'll try and test that theory if we can go to the arcade. Why couldn't I think of that word?
Akihabara.
Thank you. Anyway, we also got a couple more emails I just want to quickly read. This one came in from Damon, and Damon said, I don't know if it's something that you two have considered, but I think it would be really cool if each week there was a graphic on screen for the YouTube version of the podcast that showed each of your current confidant levels and stats, sort of like what Critical Role does with their stat cards for each player. I know it'd be even more work for you two, but I know that there have been many times that I, as a first-time Persona 5 player, want to make sure I'm not too far behind. Appreciate all that you do, and thanks for the great podcast. I really love the idea of that. I feel like we're probably a little too late to start, especially with our social stats being pretty much maxed out across the board. I still have guts, I think, but sadly. But I do like that idea, certainly, for like if we were to do another game, to have something running that people can look at.
Yeah.
Is definitely a cool possibility to consider for like a P4 playthrough or something like that.
Yeah, I actually went through my confidants this week to be like, okay, how many do I have left? How many days do each of those take? How many days, like trying to like make sure I'm on track in that regard. And I'm actually like, I think I only have like 20 or like 19 more evenings of confidants to do total.
Wow, nice.
So like, yeah.
You should be okay then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also got another email, where is it? Here we go. From Devin. Devin, wow, no, this is the... Oh wait, did I read this? No, I didn't. Devin, who had previously written in as the guesser of Tom's middle name, had also just said, I finished episode 23 yesterday. Jonathan likened Persona 5 Royal to a 5 to 7 season television show. I just want to remind you that House had 8 seasons. So we consider Persona 5 Royal to be an 8-season series of video games, I think is fair to say.
Is that like the community equivalent for JRPGs? Is like 8 seasons in an anime instead of 6 seasons in a movie?
Well, it'd be 8 seasons of an anime and an anime movie that wraps it all up, but also maybe opens it up to new characters, ?
And a million spin-offs. This is getting
yes,
out
exactly.
of hand.
Anyway, before we go on, I do just want to reference a couple of the comments from YouTube as well. You can go to, and I've just learned this past week, you can go to youtube.com/Dornology and it'll actually work now. And you can go comment on recent episodes like Thomas did, who was commenting on our conversation about Ryuji making for real a catchphrase. And Thomas said Ryuji wasn't trying to make for real happen. He just talks like a Japanese teenager. And forgive me for butchering anything, but maji or maji is an extremely common Japanese slang term that translates to English as seriously or for real. So it is just a common sort of slang term. But in terms of the amount of usage that I don't think is unfair to notice that it is certainly commonly used by Ryuji. Barrett, friend of the show, of course, commented that when he streamed through the entire game earlier this year, they kept a for real counter to see how many times Ryuji would say it in a single playthrough. At the end of the game, he had said it 98 times. During the earlier parts of the game where he is a main focus, he pretty much said it once per hour of gameplay, but FRPH, or for reals per hour, definitely slowed down as more people joined the party. I'm sure he could have said it more if there were more times he had gotten hit during combat, since that is one of the things he'll yell in there as well, or if I had hung out with him more outside of just his confidant ranking.
That's one thing that struck me about Persona 5. That's good data. Good data, for sure. And one thing that struck me about Persona 5 Strikers is that for real kind of just becomes like the groups thing. Like it's more, way more than just Ryuji saying it in Strikers, I feel like. Okay. I remember On saying it a lot more in that. So
that feels like that lends very much credence then to the idea that it is just common slang that's being translated.
And also that feels like a thing that happens in friend groups too. Like if one person is saying something a ton, then it just sort of infects the group.
Oh, for sure. Even just small things. Like I definitely did not say goof as much until I came to IGN just because of the amount of people who use the word goof. So yeah, it definitely happens. But thank you for that hard scientific data, Barrett. And thank you for that information, that real life information as well, Thomas. Last but not least, just wanted to very much mention, Summer said, Haru ended up being my favorite confidant because of all this complexity, dealing with her mixed feelings about her father, her guilt, and her desire to focus on her grandfather's legacy and make it her own. Her arc from powerlessness to navigating power was very powerful to me as a woman who also has an overbearing father. Love her so much and ended up romancing her. And yeah, I am definitely learning to appreciate Haru, I think, a lot more on this playthrough, and I'm glad that I am, because I think there is a lot to learn about that character. Other than that, there were a ton of great comments, and I'll be sure to reply to a bunch of them, so thank you to everyone who's been writing in. But we do, of course, also have quite a busy week of Persona 5 to get through, so I do want to get there as we get into the week of October 25th through October 31st, our final week of October. And, definitely just a continued boring intertime between palaces. Nothing at all of interest happens, right, Tom?
Yeah, it's a crazy heavy one. Everything happens.
So heavy, and I forgot.
It's the opposite of the previous week.
Yeah, it is. If we could have smashed those 2 weeks together, or split everything out, I think it would have been a lot more even. But yeah, this is a hugely heavy story-packed week, especially at the beginning. We have some free time spread throughout, but mostly toward the end. So I think it's probably best to start with the story focus.
Yeah.
And that begins right off the bat on October 25th. So our first day of this week, it's the beginning of the school festival, which of course also means other characters can come to the school, aka it makes it easy for Futaba and Yusuke to show up, and it's not weird.
And also not conspicuous at all.
No, not whatsoever. That these specific two characters. Anyway, so it's begun. We basically get right into the school festival. We arrive at school. We are sort of surveying the team, or the scene, excuse me. The team itself is sort of worried about how much pressure the situation might be under, though, because obviously Shujin has come under a lot of scrutiny after everything that's happened, and even more so after Okumura and all that. So there's a lot of focus on what could potentially be happening here, and the principal, excuse me. So Makoto warns people hey, there could be cops in plain clothes. We need to be pretty careful about things. There could be a lot of attention on the school and people interested in what happens here, so we need to keep it cool. And all the while, Haru is just I'm just happy to be here with friends, which I love. There's one point in the intro where she's just I'm just glad we're doing this together, and it's oh, that's wonderful. But so anyway, as the day's events go on takes the group to their class's stall, which is also Joker's class, right? I'm not mistaken there.
Yes,
because Joker didn't really say much during any of this, and so I was just is the thing I've known this whole time wrong?
Yeah, they definitely frame it as On's class, but it is both of your classes.
Yeah. It was one of those moments where I seriously doubted the last 70 hours of my gameplay. But anyway, so On takes us to their class stall, which is in a deserted part of the building. Apparently no one is really interested in checking out the stall. And the stall itself, the students working it are in maid costume, and they're serving takoyaki, and they think this will be a good place to have a discussion, get things going. And then we have an extended food ordering sequence, which, purely for comedy, I adore this moment.
It's very good because, like, I love the idea that they made this maid takoyaki stand and then spent all their money on the maid costumes and didn't have any takoyaki to serve, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, they try to place orders, and there's a menu with many items on it, but the student in the costume just keeps being like, oh, we're out of that, we're out of this, we don't really have that, and then On mentions spending most of the money on the costumes. So they get Russian takoyaki, which is the only thing that seems to be available, and it's brought over, and it's a very small, clearly just microwaved portion of food. It is not fancy or intriguing or like freshly made or anything of that nature. And the thing that seems to make it Russian is because of one specially colored red takoyaki in the middle.
Yeah.
And they're all debating about who's going to get it. And just as they think they're going to make a decision, Akechi shows up.
Yeah, and this is a funny one because Akechi is, like, not supposed to be there that day. That's the thing I forgot about the school festival initially, is that it's 2 days.
Yeah.
And so he's supposed to be there the next day, and he's just there to, like, quote-unquote scope it out, right? Like, check out the venue, which is, like, very suspicious. And he walks over suspiciously to you and is like, all of you hanging out together. How convenient.
Yeah. Good thing I found you all.
And then, like, does kind of a jerk thing.
Yeah.
And takes their food without asking.
It's one of those things that I think, like, it's a moment you have to accept whether or not, wherever you are in your confidant level with him, I think. Because, like, we're, as we've made clear in the show, we're dating. And we're very close to Akechi. And yet he acts like we barely know each other here. And he acts, like, high and mighty and above the group a little bit here. But so anyway, yeah, he goes for the one special Russian takoyaki, and that thing is spicy. That thing just knocks him out.
I love how much he's, like, shaking after he ate it.
Yeah, they show his, like, body, and he's just, like, it almost looks like the character is glitching, except for the fact that you know he is intentionally doing that. Like, it's a very funny, they really got the animation down really well for that moment. So he eats it in one bite. It's incredibly spicy, and then he just kind of leaves.
Yeah. That's the day.
Yeah. He mostly shows up there, and it's mostly like creating suspicion, involving him in the group's events. Futaba finds it strange that he mentions everyone's all here. And then we break for the day. Morgana notices at that point that Yusuke was missing. And he went to go speak to Maruki. And this is, of course, a royal edition. And as we know, Yusuke has wanted to learn how Maruki is unlocking people's hearts and minds in the way that he is with this so-called therapy, was it? Yes, we'll find out the bottom of this. And has a long conversation with Maruki basically about whether therapy is leading someone down a path of their own volition, or if it's just the therapist exerting their control on the person and leading to the results they want. And they have this pretty, like, interesting, deep philosophical conversation. Obviously, it doesn't go on forever for the sake of the player, but it is a very interesting, valid point that they both kind of come away with thinking. Other than that, Maruki also asks him about, like, what he wants most in the world. And Yusuke says he just wants his art to improve through his own efforts, which, you know, obviously ties into having had such a stealing mentor, you know, to deal with. And then he also says he would love the world to see his mother's masterpiece and to meet a master. So he actually wants a lot. He's like, I don't want too much, but here's everything I want.
It's also funny in the context of, like, Yusuke's confidant line. Like, if you've gone through Yusuke's confidant line already, where he is asking for basically a patron, and that confidant line is all about him, like, being offered a patron. And so it's, like, a little bit funny in that sort of way. There's some intricacies there that I'm, you know, brushing over.
Sure.
But yeah, it's like a little bit at ends, I think, the royal edition with what was already there. But I agree. I do like that he finally gets to talk to Maruki, and I think their conversation is nice and interesting, and he's kind of comes away with it being like, oh, this isn't what I expected this to be like, right?
Yes.
He went in with a lot of assumptions.
Yeah, which, again, I think is a really good, one, look at people's relationships to therapy, but also an interesting aspect of it in terms of, like, the benefits of it versus the person who is the therapist and their motives and things like that. Because that does often come up, I think, for a lot of people who are against therapy or the idea of going to therapy themselves.
Sure.
Other than that, though, as you mentioned, it definitely could be a little at odds. But as you've mentioned, it's really hard to get Yusuke just to be your confidant in the beginning. So maybe people just don't go to him.
Yeah.
They found. But anyway, we then, after all this, as we await part 2 of the school fair, school festival, we do get a free evening in the cafe. So what did you do, Tom?
I read the technical book from Jimbocho that lets you increase your technicals, which is great because now
Nice.
I think the most important one of them all is that you can cause a technical off of confuse with normal gunshots, which is just like super, super strong.
What? Okay, that's amazing. Yeah. I'm going to have to speed up my approach on that. I do think I finished the final base book.
And the last book only takes 1 to read, so
okay.
It's quick.
Okay, that's nice. Yes, because I did, this evening, I read the proficiency book that I'd been putting off since I maxed out proficiency so long ago. So I read 2/3 of that book. And also fed my plant to get max kindness. So,
Hey!
Finally got there. Still waiting on guts, but what can you do as a worse player of Persona?
I've let my plant wither and die.
That would be really funny.
I don't need its points anymore.
Oh, so sad. That'd be really funny if they showed you just like a decaying plant in the corner.
Take kindness away from you.
Yeah. You were really rude to this plant. You can't have this kindness anymore. But anyway, that is the first day, and certainly I think it's fair to say the next day of the school festival, that day is pretty much just establishing Akechi's importance again, in case you haven't seen him in a little while. Now we get to the proper meat of the school festival, which is, of course, the really exciting speech from Akechi.
Panel speech? We don't... This is a weird thing that I don't understand what's happening, but also it's, like, kind of fine. Like, they have a celebrity and then Makoto is asking him questions and, like, just getting him to talk. It's like, okay, cool.
Very leading questions.
Yes, indeed.
And not at all subtle. But anyway,
No.
It begins pretty much with Makechi.
Makechi.
That's my portmanteau for the two of them on stage.
It's a good ship.
How dare you? I'm dating both of them right now. Akechi is up on stage with Makoto alongside him, basically interviewing him for the entertainment / enjoyment of the students who have assembled. He's getting lots of laughs about sort of, him being caught off guard or hoping he'll be entertaining because he knows he's not a performer, so he's hoping this will be fun for people. People are really, really enjoying it, and Makoto is just there really trying for info.
Yeah.
Like really asking very specific questions.
Not subtle at all.
No, not in the slightest, which we'll, of course, soon learn that it doesn't really matter. But she's not trying to be subtle, it doesn't feel like. And she's plying him for info. Right now, as far as Akechi says to the public, there's no specific leads, and the methods of the thieves are still unclear. She's sort of setting up. So she asks how he's so positive they haven't murdered. He makes a joke here that she could be a prosecutor. Oh, how fun is that for the students? Probably not at all. Anyway, she keeps really pushing him on this and wonders why Kumura would be the only one they killed is kind of like what it comes down to. And he can't think of a reason for that, so he has to assume there's a different reason that this case is different than the other ones. And so if they are the ones he knows of, he basically says they couldn't possibly have killed too. So it implies he knows their identity at this point.
Gasp!
Which I feel like is probably... There's more that he says, but I feel like that's probably the biggest revelation to the audience at that point.
Yeah, and we get this lovely cliffhanger as a result.
Yes, yeah. He's like, the police don't know who they are, but I do. And he's teasing out that, like, oh, wouldn't she want to know who he thinks they are? And so it's just his personal opinion. So it wouldn't affect the case whatsoever, for him to put this out there.
Yeah.
And so she directly asks, and he's like... I gotta tell you, the Phantom Thieves are bring, bring, and his phone rings just on the timing.
Yeah, I love how much he hams this up. He's like, be prepared. You could all hear the answer before the police or the public. And it is, well, the words that I will say in this moment when I will tell you that their names are...
Why isn't anyone calling? God damn it.
Oh, I gotta go.
Yeah. Oh, I think someone called my name out there. I need to go. And
Yeah.
they're like, how did you hear that?
Of course, we find out why he's being that weird immediately.
Yes, yeah. It's a cliffhanger for the group there, but not for us at home, because he, after he says he needs to pause and take this call and he'll be back in a little bit, he tells Makoto, "Hey, can you come with me actually to is there a room we can go to? Also, bring all your friends." Okay, yeah, sure. This doesn't seem like a problem. And so he takes them all to a classroom, and reveals that he knows that they've been involved with the metaverse and that they are the Phantom Thieves.
Not just that, he has photos of them literally disappearing and reappearing, which is like, oh yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
You got us.
I think he says he might have video as well. Of it that he's willing to show, but yeah, he shows, we at least at home see photos of Yusuke and An running in, out of the metaverse, and he says he's aware of that world as well. He found out about it a month ago, and confronts them about it and realizes they all have this sort of same power to enter this other universe. Haru, pretty quickly is like, we did not kill, that wasn't what happened, and he believes it. And he says the reason he believes them is that he saw the real culprit behind this. He saw someone else moving about in the metaverse, and we get a brief flash of a figure holding a gun in a mask. And that's about it in terms of who this other villain might be. And he also in this moment realizes Morgana is talking,
Yes.
which is a fun one. Basically, he's telling them all of this to essentially blackmail them, because he wants them to cooperate and help him on investigating the truth. He threatens to reveal them if they don't help, so they don't really have a choice at this point. But he's like, the people who are investigating you, like the police and everyone who's wrapped up in this, they're going to make it your fault no matter what happens. So I'm basically your best hope.
Yeah, he positions himself as saying, you're going to get caught no matter what. They're going to forge evidence. It doesn't matter. But I care about actually catching the real person, because I care about truth and justice more than, getting a conviction like the police do. So he makes them agree, right? Like, disband after this, but I will help you catch this actual person first, and then you'll get off the hook.
Yeah, and as we know, at least for this day, it's sort of left on a cliffhanger of like, ooh, are they going to accept this? But yeah, he pretty much is like, here are my terms. Help me figure this out. Then you stop doing what you do, and I won't, I'll forget everything you've done, and I won't tell anyone about it, and we'll just let bygones be bygones. And the group has to think about it, but obviously, we're gonna get to a point where maybe we accept that deal. Who's to say? But we do have some other stuff that happens. Is there anything from that conversation though, before we move on, that you also want to focus on? Just because this is a big revelation moment.
Not particularly. I mean, this moment doesn't hit. Unfortunately, this moment doesn't hit as hard on a third playthrough, I think,
that's fair.
Is one issue with it. But, at the same time, I think it is a really exciting moment where you're like, oh, he has the meta nav, right, he says, and he knows about this other world, and it's doing a lot of work it's paying off a lot of work that has been set up over the last, month or so, right?
Yeah.
Where Akechi is distancing from Sai, and, you're getting all these sort of hints that Akechi might be sort of sympathetic to you, and then even earlier, the day before with the Russian takoyaki thing, is, specifically, I think, to make him, partly also to, humanize him a little bit, and make him a little bit more, silly and lighthearted, to get a moment where he's not just a bad guy.
Yeah.
So that the next day, when you're starting to, trying to have to come around to the idea that maybe you're going to work with him as a teammate, you're more okay with that. And so I think they do a really good job of leading up to this moment.
Yeah.
Of transitioning Akechi from is he a hostile figure to, oh no, he's he still wants you to disband, but he's on your side now a little.
Yeah. Especially if you haven't been dating him. You might not have a full understanding of who Akechi is at this point. So yeah, I think you're totally right. The sort of back-to-back days let you see different sides of him. And I also think obviously we're going to get to it through the week, so it's not a huge spoiler to say, but it helps. This starts to lay the foundation of making then this palace that we're going to go into different in yet another way, because we talked about that a lot going into, I think, Futaba's palace, where it was like we were through the first 3 palaces and it was like we're obviously still enjoying the game, but it's very like, okay, here's the pattern of things, and then Futaba's palace really changes it up, and then Okumura's palace changes it up even further, and then now this palace is changing things up again with the party makeup and your goals and the reasoning for everything, and it keeps that pace going.
Yeah.
But anyway, we leave for the day, or do we? First, however, we get a flash to Sojiro, who's watching a newscast about the mental shutdowns, and a person on there mentions about getting a calling card, and we see that Sojiro has found that Futaba had one just like it. And that's all we get at that point.
We also do get, I don't know if you want to talk about the thing at the end of that scene, that last scene, the Akechi scene. The transition away from it. It's in the show notes.
Oh, thank you. I was like, what? Oh, wait, does it happen there?
It does. It happens twice this week.
Okay, I remember the other time it happens. Forgive me.
So this is
I wrote down.
Yeah, it's worth calling out, because, again, avoiding spoilers, we obviously know what happens, but there is a weird sort of like fuzzy, warpy transition where Joker and Morgana are like talking for a moment, but you don't see or hear about what, and then it just like goes to the next screen. And that happens twice this week, and its meaning is very weird and cryptic.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, forgive me. I wrote it down for the second one, but did not write it down for this first one in my own notes, and so I was looking there and didn't even look at the page in front of me. So thank you, Tom. Anyway, it's time now for the post-festival party. And I do have some things to say about what happens after this. But anyway, Morgana suggests we go home. But
this day is long.
It's a really long day. Kasumi shows up and asks us to go to the post-festival party. Yeah. And so we're going to be doing a student sharing special, which sounds terrible. But it's
Shujin's favorite tradition.
I would run away. But before we do that, there's a dance club performance, and Kasumi is very excited about it. She makes us dance with her.
Joker's got moves.
Joker does. Joker breaks down like pretty just out of nowhere. And then they specifically ask Kasumi, the dance club is so enamored with her moves that they ask her to do a spotlight dance, basically. And as I wrote down, anime, and then we get into an animated cutscene. Where Kasumi just knocks out the entire crowd with her moves.
Yeah.
Metaphorically, not literally.
This whole section is, like, cute. Sorry.
I just wanted to clarify. She doesn't fight everyone in the room.
I mean, yet. This whole section is cute, but also really random. Like, it's just sort of like, hey, let's watch Kasumi dance, and you'll hang out with her more, and then you move on. Yeah.
It's like a cute, I guess, reminder of again, as someone who doesn't know what comes forward in the royal content, I guess it's another reminder of just like the attention that Kasumi seems to be able to grab from others. Like she is very much, she's obviously this younger freshman who has a lot of pressure on her, and certain people are sort of bullying her for that and whatnot. But she is very talented and skilled, and like as a performer, in her movement, is obviously very good at that. And so I think this sort of just hammers that home. I don't know. It was cute, but it felt kind of just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Especially because the next scene happens and they're like, man, people are asking me to go to the post-festival party now.
Yeah. So this is the problem. Like, I think that it is incredibly impressive how well they do meld royal content into non-royal, into the base game on the whole. This is probably the worst moment, at least so far, that we've seen, where they just do not blend well.
Yeah.
Because you have this moment where your Joker is like, I didn't get invited by anyone to the post-festival party, so I guess I'll just go home. And then Kasumi's there and is like, hey, we're going to do this. And then they're like, it's time for the student sharing special, but first dance party. And then you leave the dance party and they're like, well, things are winding down and the dance party is done, so the party is over, so I'm going to go home. And then you immediately get the cutscene that is, or the scene that's supposed to originally happen, which is you then getting invited to the post-party, like the post-festival party, and going to the sharing special that should have already been happened. It's like, it just doesn't work. It's really clunky. But the scenes themselves are individually still very cute and entertaining and fun.
Yes, and as you said, this is, I think, the first real, like, moment where that feels like a problem for the royal content. Yeah, like
by far too. Like it really does work very, very well beyond this moment.
Yeah,
it's just a stumble.
Everything else has been, I'd say, pretty expertly melded in there, to the point that I've talked to some people who were playing it for the first time, just playing Persona 5, and didn't know what was royal content and what wasn't, because it's often just so a part of the day. But yeah, this is the first time where it's just like, man, they could have maybe just adjusted the text on this scene a little bit.
Yeah.
And it would have been fine. But alas, it's now time for the post-party again. And we are going to get the student sharing special. And we get texts from people about who we want to go with. Who did you choose to go with?
I went with Haru. I had the choices of Ryuji and Mishima or Haru. And I assume you had those, but also Makoto?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think it's just like those two choices are always there, and then if you're dating someone on the team, you can also do them. I believe is how that works.
Only people on the team, because it'd be real weird if you're dating like Takemi and then she shows up.
I mean, I say only people on the team, but probably this game lets you do Kawakami too, because it doesn't know what's good for it.
Yeah, that's fair. So who did you choose?
I chose Haru.
Okay, cool. I chose Makoto. And so we go into... So I'm curious then what happens on your end. Because we go back into the auditorium. There's a guy on stage who's basically just asking people to share things with themselves, or with the whole group. That is the event. Yep. Share important parts of you. And if there's one thing teenagers love, it's earnest admitting of truth about themselves.
It's like, literally, I don't think I could come up with more of a nightmare high school scenario than that event. And it just feels like the type of thing that ruins lives.
Yeah.
like those are the moments that will haunt those children forever. When they're 30, they'll think back to those moments and go, "Oh my god, I can't believe I did that on stage." Like
yeah. I can't, as a burgeoning 30-year-old, I can't think of anything from my high school days that I regret, because I think about my middle school days too much. But yeah, no, it wouldn't be. I would never. If they pointed at me, I would just walk out the door. I would be like, no, thank you.
That's the smart thing. That's the rational response.
I have to go to the bathroom now. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I would rather in that moment be like, I'm about to have explosive diarrhea, than tell an entire school about my innermost deep secrets and thoughts about my insecure life as a high schooler. Anyway. I went in there with Makoto. We were hanging out. The guy who's on stage calls on her. Does the guy call on Haru?
Yeah.
Okay. The guy asks about the Phantom Thieves. Does the guy ask you about Phantom Thieves? And he asks about them maybe being students. She's really thrown about it, so I have to step in to change the subject. So this sounds like you had to do the same thing. What were your like prompts? Like, what did you get to?
They're all like, do you have a boyfriend?
Okay.
Basically.
Okay, those were mine as well.
Yeah.
Which was funny as in the game dating Makoto. It's like, ooh, do you have a boyfriend?
Yeah.
So anyway, that becomes sort of the way we get around having to answer anything about Phantom Thieves. I'm curious then, what was your after-event conversation? Because for us, obviously, as dating Makoto, the whole conversation is like pretty romantically tinged. Like, it's pretty thank you for stepping in, like, I appreciate that, it was so like sweet of you to do that for me, or whatever.
Well, for Haru, it was like talking about you being reliable, and like it was her thanking you for like not understanding why you asked it at first, and then like thanking you for like trying to protect her, basically, I think is how it went.
Okay.
But the funny thing about Haru is like Haru and Kasumi really feel like they are pushing, like, those storylines really feel like they're pushing you kind of trying to date those people in a way that some of the other storylines aren't.
Yeah.
Like, Makoto and On don't explicitly feel like their confidant lines are about, like, dating.
Mm-hmm.
And Haru's confidant line isn't really either, but, like, a lot of her story things and a lot of your conversations with her are kind of, like, a little bit more that direction. So I think it's just sort of, like, more natural with her conversations. The thing that's really awkward about the Haru thing is that Haru gets up on that stage and immediately the MC's like, "Oh God, you're Haru Okumura. I'm so sorry for your loss. This is terrible. Why did I call on you?" Like really backpedaling quickly. And so she's like super flustered and the whole thing is a disaster. And like, yeah.
That's a nightmare.
It's what high school nightmares are made of. Like, it is that terrible, and that should not be their favorite yearly tradition.
Yeah, it really shouldn't. Anyway, what gift did Haru give you? Do you remember?
It was some sort of charm.
Okay, because
it was like a food. It was a food.
Yes, yeah, because my conversation with Makoto got very romantically tinged. I assumed because we were dating, obviously, and then she even mentions about how like Sai talks about who she should look for in a partner for marriage, and she brings up marriage, and she's like, not that I meant I'm getting married soon or anything. That was awkward. Anyway, here are donuts. And she just gives you donuts, and I was like, cool, I have...
She gives you, like, Haru gives you, like, Sakura something, I think.
Oh, cool. Well, we have these romantic, awkward conversations, and move on with the festival. Is there anything else before because we're sort of going to leave the festival from here. Is there anything else about the festival that like really stood out to you or something you want to cover? Obviously, like it's a big event because of the revelations, but
nah, man. It's been half the episode's gone and it's been a day and a half in this week. So yeah, let's keep moving.
I mean, what's better than to dwell on our high school, nightmares? Anyway, the day finally comes to an end. After
this week is just so long.
It is, and not in a bad way. I just mean like the day.
This day has more stuff. Like,
pulling back the curtain, I really should not have picked this as the day to start playing before dinner one night, where I was like, oh, I just have to stop in the middle of very important story spoilers. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, we go home. Futaba is waiting outside, and we get a small slice of that, and we get this like back and forth because before, obviously, we know Sojiro is holding her calling card at this point, but we don't see that finally come to fruition just yet because we then get a jump to Sai being confronted for essentially needing more progress in the case. The director wants this case done because it's heavily implied there's going to be new political leadership coming in soon. And we want this case solved before that transition happens. He's even made arrangements for special interrogation should they be needed. And
no idea what that's going to be.
No, total mystery. And says basically that like she can take some bold measures with this, aka don't do things by the book. But what that means, who's to say? Because we go back to the cafe, and we're back to Futaba's story. We go in. Go ahead.
Just very quickly in this section, I think the important thing here also is that he says that if she doesn't get it done, she'll be fired, basically.
Yes, yeah.
And the point Akechi just made earlier in the day was Sai would forge a conviction if she feels cornered or pressured in a way that she can't get out of.
Yeah.
And suddenly now we have exactly that reason, right? Like, immediately that is paying, like, that idea that Akechi has planted in your head is shown to be potentially true.
Absolutely, yeah. We definitely within this day get the sense that the law is not going to play things properly. Yeah. And so before we get back into what that means for the group, we do return to the cafe with Futaba. And this is, again, I think a very, very important major scene. And it's wild all this happens within the same day as the Akechi stuff. But we go into the cafe and Sojiro pretty much directly confronts Futaba about the calling card. And it's this really, like heart-wrenching scene. She fesses up to it, and breaks down a bit. She's starting to cry a lot about it. He says he noticed there have been changes in her behavior and suspected it, but he was wondering if maybe it was just really some things happening, outside his like maybe it was just hanging out with this group more that was helping, but he realizes putting the pieces together that there was a change of heart involved. Yeah. And he asks if we're involved and puts the pieces together. And we admit to him we are the Phantom Thieves. He thought I might just, it's funny because he thinks we just might be like related to the situation, but we're just like, oh no, we're the Phantom Thieves. We did all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's basically a little bit worried in this moment. And it's one of these really interesting, I think, where we see both sides of Sojiro, both the kind of like stern, grumpier side, but then also the very human, caring side. And he's like, I've just been giving safe harbor to criminals for the last 6 months. Like, that's just what I've been doing, and I didn't even know it. But Futaba explains that, like, no, this is really, really important to her because they're looking for her mom's killer. And wants him to realize that, like, like, if you just think about it, you realize that there were nefarious circumstances to her death, that it wasn't what we've been told. And he sort of accepts all this, but his big takeaway for the group is that, like, don't get into a fight that you can't win, because you are going to come up against forces that are bigger and more powerful than you, and just don't get into a situation where you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure won't, imply anything to come. But yeah, I do want to throw to you just for your thoughts on this conversation, because I do think it's played really well as sort of the back and forth of his realization, Futaba's sort of pleading with him, and just sort of the, like, emotional struggles going on here.
Yeah, it's super good. It's super raw. Like, it's very sad to see Futaba just, like, immediately break down, right, when confronted with this. But then, to Sojiro's credit, like, he really takes the time to actually listen to her and, like, hear what she's saying about all of this stuff. And then ultimately, he's had this attitude of, like, don't do anything or I'm going to kick you out. I'll throw you on the curb no matter what. And now at this point, when the kind of cards come down, his tone really changes, and through all this he comes out with this attitude of just like, okay, well, like, I'm gonna have to keep you guys safe, right? Yeah. And like, that is like really, really interesting, where that's not what you would necessarily expect from Sojiro at the beginning of this game, but really it is just like, he wants to protect you now, and he wants to make sure you're okay when he doesn't really have to, right? Yeah. But you've grown closer together through this. I think the other interesting thing is kind of his connection to the whole Wakaba thing kind of getting a little bit more clear, right? Futaba mentions that it's related to cognitive science, and he says that Wakaba knew she might die in a weird way, and he didn't take her seriously, and kind of blames himself for that, and then ran to this cafe just to, like, hide pretty much from his own guilt or whatever. So it adds a lot more depth there, and it also is interesting because he can accept the Phantom Thieves more easily because he knows that this stuff, he was already aware of all of this stuff. Yeah. So yeah, it's a really dense, in a good way, conversation where, like, a lot of stuff is getting discussed. It's a lot of exposition, but it doesn't feel like exposition. Like, it does feel like a lot of character development as well. Mm-hmm. It's just a really, like, potent sort of thing. Yeah, and I'm glad it happens, because now Sojiro just, like, knows you're a Phantom Thief, and it's great.
Yep, it's wonderful, especially because I think, just to your point, at the beginning of the game, we didn't know about Futaba, we didn't know about what happened with their family in general. We just get this idea that he is this, like, gruff guy who is begrudgingly taking us in, and just is looking for a reason to kick us out. But whether or not you've engaged with his confidant line, you hopefully have gotten to see throughout this that there's more to him than that, and I think this really crystallizes that. Even if obviously, like, his first reaction is, yes, I was harboring criminals, but his emotional ties to it, I think, help him see the reality of it all. And we'll be getting a little bit more with him the next day as we transition to October 27th.
We only have 5 more days in this week.
Not a problem at all. October 27th, we see Sojiro watching the news where Shido is finishing a speech, and he talks about that he may be forming a new party of sorts, which, what conversation that we heard before could have tied into that at all? Who's to say? We get that little bit, and he also mentions how the Phantom Thieves are essentially, Sojiro saying, like, the country's most wanted criminals.
And have so a huge bounty on them now.
Yeah, we have this massive bounty, and so Sojiro is like, you have this conversation with Sojiro, and it is a moment where it's like, as you said, he doesn't really have to be taking us in, so maybe he's going to turn us in for the bounty, and he's basically like, I'm not going to do that. Really, the only thing I can do at this point is give you shelter and try to help protect you. And it's just great. He won't sell you out. I wrote down he's the best. Like, it's such a, okay, here's the fuller facet of who this deeply caring man can be, but he has been putting up such walls since Wakaba's death that you thought of him as very much the opposite.
Yeah.
I love it. Anyway, we get that. We see the SIU director talking a little bit about the bounty. I don't think much comes from that scene.
No, he's just talking about the bounty. Talking about putting pressure on the thieves, basically.
Yeah. Then we get sort of a sense of where the full group is. Everyone's really worried about, this target on their back, what they're going to be doing from here, dealing with the Akechi of it all. And everyone is really, really just worried and freaked out and angry about how serious things are. Especially Ryuji. Ryuji is like pissed, is I think fair to say. And they all sort of, it's a really like dark moment for them as they all gather at the cafe up in your room. And they have this moment where they just realize like they were so wrapped up in caring about the public opinion of things that they stopped thinking about the other reasons for doing all this. And they were so focused on that. They like debate even ending things at this point, but we have to rally them together. It is sort of where the scene comes from. And it's sort of just, I think, like a moment of crisis for the group. It doesn't really translate to anything else more than that. But we do get a call later from Ryuji, who apologizes for yelling so much. And he worries he hasn't changed. And obviously, whether or not you've done his confidant line, hopefully you can see he's changed a bit.
Yeah. Because he's the best boy.
He is. Even if he's mean to Morgana for those few weeks.
He's
have
not the best boy during that week.
No, he is very much not. But we have that moment where everyone's very frustrated. Again, I don't think it's like it impacts events going forward much. It's just more of one of those like, I like that we get the introspection of the group and them checking in on things in different ways throughout the whole game. It's
them realizing where they went wrong and getting on the same page about not doing that anymore so that they can sort of like get back at this person who's been manipulating them and realizing how they let themselves be manipulated.
Yeah. But before we can do that, we get another free evening. So what did you do?
I think I worked out again. Just pumping iron.
Nice. I read the book on cheating in games. So we basically did the same thing.
Yeah, basically.
And so now I can easily play video games. So,
yay!
My real life job should be easier too, I think. Anyway, moving on from there, we get to October 28th. We have another Shido speech happening. People are listening within, it's clearly happening in Shibuya. He sort of confirms that he's splitting off to form a new party. And people really like what this fella has to say, let me tell you.
Yeah.
He's got some good
I wasn't
ideas.
thinking of voting before, but now sure am gonna vote.
Yep. It's weird that all those people also come from, as your accent seems to be, Minnesota.
Oh, gee.
But yeah. They're all...
that Shido guy there, he's got some good ideas for Japan.
It's wild when the cast of Fargo just appears in the middle of Persona 5. It's incredible. But anyway, no, it's basically like the public is very enraptured and enamored with his sort of a take on things and their frustrations with the establishment as it is. And so him projecting this idea finally seems like something people are going to be very excited about. But before we get to more political machinations, we meet back up with Akechi.
Yes.
And we get a little bit of info about where things are going to go, and it gets wild here. He suggests that it's time to make a change of heart in Sai.
Yeah.
He's already sought out that she has a palace, and he thinks this will be the best thing to do in order to prevent evidence from being doctored or manufactured in a way that will force them to be convicted, and thinks if we can show this within her, it will help. And we get a little bit of information about him, and we get the sense that we ask him why he's seeking justice like this, and I thought his response was really interesting, and I just wanted to highlight it because he goes, because of sickening human beings. He has contempt for them and deeply personal hate.
Yeah, it's he literally says it's like a personal grudge he has against bad people, right? Like, it's not it's not because he's some good person himself necessarily. It's just that he like hates bad people and has a grudge against them.
Yeah, we're getting a peek behind the curtain of Akechi's mind, and it is dark.
Yeah.
But anyway, we get that little sense of things, and he says he's known for quite some time about this palace for Sai, so it feels like it's just, the obvious thing to do. And Akechi is just like, we should just go do it right now. Yeah. Makoto, though, mentioned she's busy, so we'll go tomorrow.
And Makoto also says that she already knew her sister had a palace, and that she joined the Phantom Thieves partly because she thought about maybe changing her sister's heart, but hoped it wouldn't come to that, right? So she already knew that was part of, like, potentially in the cards.
Yeah. And I like it's frustrating because it's like, oh, someone we're really close to, perhaps even someone we're dating, withholding information. But I do like the idea. It helps, I think, to further establish that these characters are doing things without us whenever we're all together.
Sure.
I just love whenever the game really, like, puts that as a focus. But anyway, we get a flash forward to Sai, shocked about Akechi and her palace. And realizing that he knew about this metaverse but never told her, despite them working together on things. She realizes she was just basically out of the loop and made to be a joke. There's this realization that she might be the next target. But I do want to throw to you about this flash forward, mostly because I'm curious to hear what you think, and also because you have played more than me and I'm afraid to say anything that I might spoil. But, like, obviously we're getting to a head with Sai's palace and the beginning of the game.
Right.
I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
But from there, what did you think about this realization from Sai that she was made like a puppet of things?
Well, I mean, I think it's really important to her character, right? Because Sai's character is all about, like, she's been very angry and sort of, like, hostile at times, but, like, her entire character is basically built around this idea of, like, you have to work for what you want. And, like, it's hard for, especially, like, a woman in this job to get any sort of respect. And I fight for what I get, and I prove myself. So I think it's really crushing for her to hear, like, oh, this whole investigation that I was supposedly leading was, like, a setup on me, right? Yeah. Like, it was never, ever anything that I was, like, earning. And, like, that, I imagine, is really crushing for her.
Yeah.
And also, like, I think does go towards her kind of listening to Joker more genuinely, because she's finding out that, like, a lot of the assumptions that she had made about herself are not true right now. And, like, so that's a really important moment, I think, for her as well.
No, totally. And they tie it really well, I think, back into the group story, because she's not only realizing that about herself, but she's like, if I was a puppet and the group was told, like, Joker was told at some point during all this that they were sold out. So she realized that both she was a puppet and that there was just this clear intention for them to be arrested. And so if he's, saying all these things and trying to prove all this stuff, theoretically then true integrity, like true north of integrity, would be on their side and not the law's side, which just throws everything into chaos for her.
Yeah.
But anyway, we have this sort of conversation about all that, and then we go back to the week that was, and we're in a conversation with Futaba, talking about looking into Sai. We want to look into something else as well, but the audio goes quiet. We have that weird transition again.
Yes.
And that's about it for that conversation. Anything else you want to mention about it before we move on?
Nope.
Fair enough. We then go into October 29th, which is the final, like, story day of this week. And we get more information. There's been a vote of no confidence in the government. Continuing that plot along. And why did I write Futaba likes his... Oh, God. One of my notes was just Futaba likes his phone.
Yeah. Which
is just a terrible note.
Futaba does like his phone, though.
Futaba does really like his phone. I think that's a t-shirt. Anyway, Futaba likes Akechi's phone as the gang gets together and they're talking about infiltrating Sai's palace. And we guess casino to be able to, because she's gambling essentially with lives, is how it all is.
Makoto gets that.
Yes, thank you. Makoto specifically gets that. We guess casino, and we approach, and we get this really cool showcase for her palace, which obviously we have a little bit of familiarity of from the beginning, but you get to see sort of the, like, I really love the idea of it being set with, like, the way it's set within the city, because everything else has been very, like, one-off. Here's a building that we're going into, or here's a floating area away from it. Like, here is a palace just smack dab in the middle of the city. And they even make note of how, like, nearby buildings that should be related to Sai's work aren't transformed. Like, it is very specifically centralized here.
Because this is, like, the same space as the Diet Building and, like, the police station and all this other stuff in nearby.
Yeah, it's basically the, like, political seems hub of the city. And so we get here, we see the incredible, in another sort of animated sequence, the incredible casino palace that we're looking into. And we sort of begin the infiltration with a new team member.
Hooray!
Akechi is in the team. He's nicknamed Crow.
Yeah.
There is a small moment in there with Haru that I enjoyed. I don't know if you want to mention it or talk. Or,
I don't remember it.
They're basically going around and saying all their names, and Haru doesn't say her name. Because, like, technically she never got a name with the group.
Oh, right.
She got her name.
I guess I missed that.
Just with Morgan. It's just this really, like, sweet, sad moment with Haru where she's like, oh, never mind. At least I'm pretty sure it's about the name. But if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments. But that's what I thought it was related to. But anyway, we have this moment, and then we start our infiltration of the palace, of Sai's palace, to get a look inside. Who did you start your party with, just out of curiosity? Did you immediately put Akechi in?
I had Akechi, Morgana, Makoto.
Oh, interesting. Nice. Okay. I think I did Akechi, Makoto, and Haru. Anyway, we go in, we begin infiltrating sort of from the outside. We're going in like a side door, trying to get in there, obviously not just going directly through. And pretty immediately, Sai's shadow greets us. Like, we're hopping a little bit above at the top of the room, but pretty instantly after we go through like a grate or whatever, Sai's shadow is just like, hey, we're going to do this as fair as possible. Which is, a wonderful thing to hear from a being of pure evil in a, alternate reality.
Sure.
And she says she wants to do a fair fight and basically invites them to come upstairs where she'll meet them. But we can't really get up there immediately because the elevator is blocked. We need some sort of membership card, as you would for like a VIP section of a casino. So our progress in the palace is stopped there, but that means we are like officially within the new palace territory.
Yeah, they give you one fight with Akechi.
Yes.
And they're like, here's Akechi fighting, and then they're like, okay, now get out of here.
Yeah, you gotta stop. But it's really, I really love the pace of it because we're pretty quickly coming off the last palace. Like, yes, it's been 2 weeks by now, but it felt much shorter. And so it was just kind of pretty much jumping in. We're into the thick of it. I think especially because of the added impact to the group that this now has. And now that we know it's coming to a head with what we were shown at the beginning, like, you're getting this sort of ramp up very quickly, and I really, really love it about it. But yeah, as you said, we bounce away, we have that battle, and then we leave. And we have another free evening. What did you do?
Well, real quick, I do want to also say, Akechi, aesthetically, I love his outfit.
Yeah.
And I love the idea that his weaponry is just a lightsaber and a laser gun.
Yeah.
Is just so wonderful.
It's great. And it's Robin Hood, is it?
Robin Hood is his persona. Okay. Yeah, and his abilities are all like, he's got like a Megidolo, which is just like an almighty ability, and then he's got bless and curse attacks.
Yeah.
And it's just like a really weird, cool, different character.
Yeah, and and his look itself is this very like bright sort of off-whites or beiges and whites in general, and just kind of like almost very regal.
Yeah, regal is what I was going to say. Like, militaristic regal. It's very cool.
And then he has a lightsaber. Yeah.
Yeah. But that evening, I just played a game, just like a random video game, because I couldn't work out. It wouldn't let me work out. And so I literally had nothing else to do. So I just played a video game.
Fair enough. That's what I do most evenings. It won't let me work out. The world just doesn't let me. So I have to go play a video game.
completely agree.
Yeah. I played the first level of the fighting game to get some guts.
Cool.
And that was how I spent that free evening. And then we get to October 30th, which is the official mission start. Like, we're in it. We're in this next sort of palace window. What a week to then also cap off with,
Dude.
palace beginning.
So there's a couple things I really want to touch on really, really fast before we dig into what we did this week. Because I had a huge Mementos trip this week, and so also these last 2 days were longer time-wise than the entire 5 preceding them, even though those were long.
Yeah.
The thing I'll say real quick about palace-wise, so we always save the palace for the end, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to do that again where I think it's not next week, but the week after we'll talk about the palace.
Sounds
and
right.
without spoilers, this palace is kind of weird in terms of, like, timing a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I won't spoil it for anybody who hasn't done it, but we are just going to stick to not next week, but the week after. We'll talk about the bulk of the palace as much as we can, and then go from there.
Yeah, that's definitely fair to say. And I am hoping, not that we've talked about this, but I am hoping to potentially have a guest or two later in the month for things. But we're officially in mission start time. We have a new poll question up: are the Phantom Thieves innocent? Which obviously everyone thinks so. The world is completely on our side.
Well, it's very funny because the poll changes and the percentage does not.
Yeah.
It's basically just exactly the same at 22.
Yeah, I love the idea that it was like, oh yeah, we can change the positivity rating this way. No, we can't. We can't do it. But anyway, we have free time today and the 31st. So what did you do on October 30th?
So on October 30th, I got Haru as a confidant because I wanted to start growing those good vegetables right away.
Nice.
So I got Haru as confidant, which was a nice, fun little thing. And then I also, that evening, played darts with Akechi.
Nice.
And just for, I hope this isn't spoilery, mechanically Akechi works a little different with darts. So just so people know, only he and Morgana come with you to play darts. And he has to do 701 as the darts number, which means mathematically it's impossible to end with him throwing the last dart, which means to max out his dart ranking, you have to do it twice with him.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I did not know
and that's
that.
that's all intentional.
Yeah.
Because literally on this one, I hit 180, and then he hit 150, and then I hit 180, and he hit 150, and there was still, you still had to, finish it yourself, right?
That's so wild.
Yeah, so don't plan for Akechi. It's still worth doing, I think, but don't plan for just knocking Akechi out with somebody else in one night or something like that.
Okay, that's really good to know because I need to do that probably in the next week or so. But cool. That was your evening?
That was my evening.
Cool. I went to Mementos on the 30th. Nothing really, I think, of note to say from that day. I just was continuing to address some of the lingering ones I had. I have I think 8, and I did maybe 5 of them. I mostly cleared one more section and then bounced out. So cool. I did that. And then I got a weird massage and hung out with EY in the evening.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that was fun. Anyway, October 31st, our final day of the week. What did you do?
Halloween!
Yes.
Happy Halloween! I went to Mementos for Halloween.
Nice.
Well, first I slacked off in class.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know what you did.
I think I finished the proficiency book.
I slept.
What do you get
which
for
is great.
sleeping?
You get 3 confidant points with a random confidant. So I slept and got 3 blue musical notes with EY.
Is it implying you had a dream about someone and that dream made you better friends?
You have a mental connection with them, or you dream about them or something. Okay. I slept with EY. Don't worry about it. So that day, I went to Mementos and had an insanely busy day. This was a huge. So I had skipped Mementos entirely. Yeah. So I had 2 entire areas I hadn't seen yet. I went through the previous area and got all of the. I went through all one area. I completed 7 Mementos requests. I maxed out the stamps for one area, and then I got a bunch of, half the stamps for the next one and got through all the areas that I'd done. I maxed the confidant rank with the twins. So
oh my God.
I got them to 10. I ended the thing, I think I had, going into it, I had like $220,000 or yen, and leaving it, I had 1.6 million. And that was after spending money on like a bunch of level 50 and 60 personas that, like, I spent probably $500,000 just in there on high level personas.
That's insane.
I then sold all my stuff and got another, like, almost $500,000 after that, and I'm level 52 now.
Oh my God.
So, like, I just, like, I spent way too much time there.
I mean, good for you for having that all figured out.
Yeah, so I maxed out the twins. I did a bunch of Mementos requests, which means now all my, like, confidants are unlocked and can keep going. I can also do the arcade confidant, which we have not gotten to yet, and we'll probably talk about next week, I imagine. And then, yeah, in the evening I maxed Sojiro, so now he's level 10 too.
Damn.
And then I was like, these last 2 days were productive last 2 days.
That is very productive. Holy crap. Yeah, I guess without spoiling it, I went to that kid on this day.
Oh, great. Cool.
Because I had checked out for the name to go into, God, why can't I think of it? To go into Mementos, and so then I spoke with him. Without spoiling it, I'll just say I went to speak with him to begin that sort of journey. And then...
Yeah, we'll talk about that next week for sure, because I can't imagine I won't do that next week.
No, totally. So yeah, I did that at the beginning of the day. I finished the final book actually here, so I don't remember what I did in class, but I finished the final book. Yeah, that's what I did. I finished proficiency in class, and then I think I read the final book. I went and bought it the day before. So yeah, I think I got it here. And then I hung out with Haru to begin that confidant line as well. Obviously we'll talk about it in the future, but yeah, as you said, I love that. The benefit of that friendship line is vegetables.
Yeah.
Is really funny.
Really good vegetables too. Really good items.
And then in the evening, I hung out with Sojiro, but not to max rank, so I'm behind you on that one. But yeah, couldn't pass up getting to hang out with Sojiro again. And with that, I did just want to say, I genuinely don't think I went out and about my first time playing Persona 5 because I was so shocked to see all the Halloween decorations out on Central Street.
Oh, yeah. It was that might be somewhat new. I don't remember. Probably not.
Delightful and wonderful to see, but I genuinely I have no memory of that. So it was very fun and cool to see. But yeah, that's how I spent my Halloween. And that's the end of that week.
Hooray!
That quiet, busy week. Yeah, it is one of the most packed weeks I think we've had in some time. So a lot to go through. So thank you for bearing with us, everyone. But that's why we're here, to go through it all. So, a lot of fun to dig into. We'll obviously have more free time in the next week or two, so we'll look at potentially, I think we were looking at maybe discussing Yusuke's confidant line soon, since we both maxed that one out, and then potentially other things. But that covers us on the week of Persona events.
Yes.
So why don't we get into the end of the show? Tom, I'm going to start with you, to throw to you. What is your pop quiz question for the week?
So, because it's a spooky, scary Halloween, I've got a spooky, scary Halloween question for you. Here's the question. So when you go out in Shibuya or Akihabara or Shinjuku or wherever, you see lots of Halloween decorations and lots of people dressed up in Halloween costumes. So my question for you is, which of the following is not one of the Halloween costumes you could see on the streets of Japan during Halloween? So 4 of these will be, and 1 of them is not.
Okay.
Okay. A witch, a ghost, a maid, a pumpkin vampire, or a pumpkin vampire with a top hat. Those are your choices.
Really, really trapping us with that last one. Okay. Good to know. I will...
So once more. Witch, ghost, maid, pumpkin vampire with top hat.
All
There you go.
excellent costumes, and not litigious at all, which is what matters. Anyway, before we go, I will also have a Persona pseudonym for you, Tom, to guess. I'm actually dipping into Sai's palace because I'm worried about duplication from Okumura's palace. And so this is a little bit testing your knowledge of obviously having played the game before, but I think it's who we encounter here. I could be wrong, but it should be an easy one. Who is the Cruel Leopard?
Cruel Leopard?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, I got it. It's the cat with the sword and the codpiece. It's Osei.
Tom, you are correct. Congratulations.
Yeah!
Yes, that is Osei, a Persona will be encountering within Sai's palace, along
Literally
with
just
many
a
others.
humanoid leopard with a very awkward codpiece,
Yep.
2 swords, and a cape, I think? Is just like that's the design.
Yeah, I mean, he's cool, so I'll
Ship it.
take it. Got incredible abs, this leopard. But anyway, with all of that talk of leopard abs behind us, I'm getting pretty sleepy,
Yeah.
as Morgana would tell us too. So I think it's time to end the show there. Thank you so much to everyone who's tuned in. Reminders, you can find us at JM Dornbush and at Tom R. Marks on Twitter. If you're looking to talk to us more about Persona or just, the other shenanigans we get up to. You can find the show on your various podcast services as well as YouTube. You can go to youtube.com/Dornology, where video versions of the show are each and every week if you want to see Tom and I make goofy faces at each other throughout the hour. And of course, if you're enjoying the show, please consider leaving a review, rating it, giving it a thumbs up, subscribing, whatever. Some platforms weirdly don't let you do that, so head to YouTube or Apple Podcasts or wherever. If you're enjoying it, we appreciate it. And thank you to everyone. We continue to see the messages of people who have been binging the show all in one go to catch up with us. It's so awesome and means so much. So thank you all for joining us on this wonderful journey that is Persona 5 Royal. But until next time, I've been Jonathan. That's been Tom. I was really worried my camera was mirrored and I was going to point and it wouldn't be at you, but it was, so we're good. Goodbye, everyone. Love you all.
Bye.